You have spent enough time being swallowed whole by the crushing jaws of social anxiety. It's time for you to take action and start feeling comfortable in your own skin, no matter what social setting you find yourself in. It really is possible, and I'm going to show you how right now. This is coming from first-hand experience, and I really don't want you to miss out on this information. It would be like surrendering willingly to social anxiety and just being held captive by this mental monster forever. So listen up. If you want to overcome your social anxiety and really maximize your potential with confidence and success, you should continue watching this video and not miss the opportunity of a lifetime. I'm going to show you immediately how to finally overcome the mind-bending social anxiety you've been living with in the next 24 hours by laying out the blueprint that took me 11 years to construct. You're actually going to be transformed into a proverbial social butterfly by the weekend. And the kicker, you'll actually look forward to being in social settings. Before we go any further though, let me just introduce myself. My name is Jason Ellis, and I have dealt with severe social anxiety for most of my adult life. It took me 11 years to learn what I'm about to teach you in the next 24 hours, and my story is likely similar to yours. Sad stories of my social anxiety have littered my life as far back as I can remember. This condition isolated me from having long-standing relationships with friends, women, even family. Prior to discovering the strategies that you're about to learn, I would run from life, scared and hopeless about ever finding a solution to this problem. I remember vividly backing out of attending my sister's surprise 30th birthday party. And my parents had planned the party for months and had close to 100 people committed to attend. 100 people? This image was a nightmare for me to wrap my head around. I couldn't bear the thought of the conversations that would make me squirm with awkwardness and the struggle that I would face, from the stares of people I didn't know. Gatherings and opportunities like this, they became situations to avoid. I was actually in the habit of trying to figure out how I could get out of invitations that came up in life. And dealing with the dynamics of social interaction were not only a big headache, but also a huge blow to my self-esteem, because I knew I simply couldn't handle the pressure. It took me so long to even build up the courage to start dating on my own. I mean, dating? A person? Really? The mere thought made it seem like climbing Mount Everest. But somehow, I built up enough courage to allow my sister, yes, the same one that I let down, to set me up with a friend of a friend. And this was basically one of my first dates in my adult life. And just to cut to the chase, it went horribly wrong. And really, I'm not being too critical here when I say it was all my fault. This woman, whose name I'll leave out, was someone I had prized at work for several years, and I never had the self-confidence to tell her. She seemed to like me, but I could always talk myself out of that assumption, and did with her on many, many occasions. Finally, one day, a mutual friend, who also knew my sister, took it upon himself to devise a plan with my sister to set us up on a date. And it was kind of weird what happened. As a social anxiety sufferer, you'd think I would immediately be terrified at the thought of the event. And that's the best word for it. It didn't feel like a date so much as an event. Strangely, a kind of numbness took over. See, at first I was surprisingly ecstatic about the whole prospect for days leading up to it. And then the anxiety started to kick in when I woke up the morning of the date. And constantly throughout the day, I talked myself out of going. My sister was totally my coach throughout the whole day, egging me on and trying to build up my confidence. But I was so indecisive over the whole thing. It took me almost the entire week leading up to the date to find a suitable restaurant. And what would I wear? I was so lost and so bad at this whole thing that I must have tried on 15 different outfits that morning. It took me so long to get settled with what I'd wear, and I made myself 30 minutes late to pick her up at her home. My nerves were through the roof. After finally picking her up, we began the drive to go to dinner, and I could tell I wasn't doing well already. I couldn't bring myself to look her in the eye because I was too self-conscious, and I struggled to start or continue any conversation that we began. Then it was time to sit down for dinner, which was even worse. My struggles at dinner included not being able to decide what to eat for a long period of time, and that just bordered on bizarre. And once I finally was able to decide what to eat, I struggled until the food arrived, thinking about how I was going to eat in front of her. This nearly made me shake. It turns out I couldn't eat in front of her, and that only made things much worse. Conversation was almost non-existent, eye contact was not in the cards, and I wasn't lifting a fork or spoon to begin eating. We just sat there in cold, dead, and unending silence until she was done, in more ways than one. And the check came, and without even thinking about it, I simply drove her home and said goodnight. And as she entered her apartment, I watched as my hopes and dreams for us together just disappeared into the night. Work became extremely uncomfortable, and after this date, I considered finding another job just to escape this situation. I felt like a shell of a person, unable to connect with others, and I knew I needed to find a different way of living, but I just didn't know how. It was then that I discovered the very first secret to overcoming this problem. And it may sound oversimplified, but its truth is infinite. The thing that got me off my butt and started making a dent in my social anxiety was the one thing that not only got the ball rolling, but also began an avalanche of progress to my social life. I took action. I made the conscious decision to do something about my anxiety, and from then on, I kept that goal in front of me and put in the work to make it happen. I worked for years to improve my anxiety and become more confident. I spoke with therapists and counselors, downloaded ebooks, and took courses online. And you know what I discovered? There's so much fluff out there. A lot of what is being taught is all great in theory, but becomes more and more intangible in practice. The real solution to social anxiety comes from participating in actionable exercises that you can put into practice right out of the gate in any social setting. So after sifting through all the information out there, I was able to consolidate the lessons that truly made a difference and apply only the tactics that packed the biggest punch. And what I learned over those years, it really can be taught in less than a day if you're willing to commit yourself to overcoming your social anxiety and put in the work. Now, I want to make something clear here. This opportunity to learn these coveted techniques, it's not available anywhere else. You could search the internet, all the libraries, bookstores, and nothing will be this comprehensive, this detailed, this concentrated, and this successful. But before we get into it, you have to take the very first step towards social anxiety recovery. And this is mandatory in order to move forward. You need to mentally commit yourself towards this goal. Otherwise, it becomes too easy to chicken out and continue to delay your life. And I'm talking about a life where you're not only happy, but eager to meet and connect with people around you. It's a more positive outlook on the world, and every morning becomes filled with optimism for the day ahead. I mean, aren't you tired of being pushed aside by the more gregarious, more boisterous people in social situations? Wouldn't it be nice to effortlessly be the life of the party instead of the one sitting in the corner? And this all comes with a mindset of actually enjoying the limelight instead of being terrified by it. Maybe the problem of your social anxiety, it seems unsolvable. I know mine did. Stepping out at parties and having conversations with strangers, it's impossible, right? Approaching the opposite sex, it's not even fathomable. Now, why is that? It's because you've let the cycle continue on this way, and it is a cycle, one that feeds upon itself until you break the chain and follow a different path, a new way of thinking. Your life doesn't have to be as lonely and isolated as it is because you have the opportunity to make a change now. I know how you're feeling. I realize that you spend a lot of time by yourself because you're scared to spend it with anyone. I've been there. And I'm talking to you from the other side of that place. And let me tell you, life is great once you can wrangle this problem. And the solution is so close that you're literally moments away. And I've completely broken down the step-by-step instruction for ending social anxiety through a system I've created simply titled Social Anxiety Fix. And this system is a paint-by-numbers process that takes the confusion out of social anxiety and simply shows you what to do with hand-holding coaching and an easy-to-follow formula. With 11 life-changing videos, a comprehensive ebook, and 12 corresponding MP3s, you will no doubt reach a level of social confidence that you've never experienced before in 24 hours or less. My Social Anxiety Fix will allow you to overcome your social anxiety with easy-to-understand coaching methods that have been honed by me, a real social anxiety survivor. So, what is Social Anxiety Fix? Well, I've developed 11 videos that will walk you through the process of overcoming your social anxiety by attacking the primary components of this disorder piece by piece. and you'll be ready to walk confidently into work, out in public, at parties, on dates, approach, the opposite sex for conversation, really any kind of social scenario possible. The skill sets, strategies, and systematic game plan for social anxiety is applicable universally, so this program works for everyone. Yes, even you. Here's a very quick breakdown of some of the things you'll be learning. First, we'll talk about how the psychology of social anxiety keeps you uncomfortable in social situations. I'm going to talk about how to deal with rejection, and that's probably a major conscious and subconscious blocker for you on some level. I'm going to show you how to stop worrying what others think, and this really gets you out of your own head, so to speak. And for the first time ever, you'll gain conversational confidence, and this is going to turn you into a conversational player, and what I mean by that is you'll always have something to talk about, something unique, something that really interests the other person. And this easily applies to every single social interaction possible. And the reason this works so well is because this shows you what confident people in general do without even realizing it. It's pretty cool. I'll go over workplace anxiety, and let me ask you, have you ever just wanted to look straight down the entire day at work and not making eye contact with anyone? Well, I've been there, and this works. I'll show you how to actually enjoy work more, and social interaction or not, this is going to ease your overall vibe of every single day at work. And this improved my life tenfold, and it'll do the same for you, particularly if you work in an office setting. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about job interviews. And let me just say that job interviews are easily the pinnacle of social pressure, and particularly if you really want the job. I mean, you're being analyzed purposefully for a long time. It's your job to impress them and make them love you. And these used to make me twinge just thinking about the situation. Not long after I learned these lessons, my anxiety decreased exponentially, and yours will too. And this lesson is particularly good for training your anxiety for those in the limelight type situations. I'll return to the roots of my dating disaster and show you what set me on track and led me to the amazing wife and kids that I have today. I'll talk about parties and gatherings, and here I'll focus on larger type situation parties, concerts, weddings, birthdays. This is really a game changer and allows you to keep in touch with people through get-togethers. Now, I haven't missed any more of my sister's birthday parties since applying these strategies. Family gatherings will be way less stressful for you, and you'll discover how to deal with relatives that really get on your nerves or throw you into a more anxious state. And this makes holidays a lot more enjoyable and really calms your senses. I'll show you how to overcome the physical symptoms of social anxiety, the shaking, the shrill voice, the racing heart, nervous sweating, stuttering, difficulty swallowing, that adrenaline that's blasting through your veins. Does any of this sound familiar? This section is like mental martial arts, the way it defends you. You're going to love it. I'm then going to skyrocket your confidence and get you ready to take on life. These 10 tips for self-esteem, they're really pillars of ultimate confidence, and if you master each one of these 10 tips, nothing can stop you, really. After this, the world is your oyster. After that, I'll strap a rocket to your back and launch you into social success. All kidding aside, this chapter is the cherry on top. It grooms you into a place where you can see yourself socializing confidently, without fear, anxiety, or any of the negative emotions that follow. But this is really just a glimpse. You'll get all the corresponding MP3s of the program, along with the downloadable ebook. Your access is a lifetime, and I'm continuously updating the site with new membership resources. It's the only system you'll ever need, and in 24 hours you'll know that this was the best decision you ever made. After graduating the program you're about to receive, my life graduated, and yours will too. After reading the comprehensive Social Anxiety Fix ebook, you'll be ready to walk into office meetings and perform incredibly. Just think about being able to speak up with ideas that you know are great, getting the recognition you deserve, and fast-tracking your career, instead of just collecting a paycheck in the corner. Listening to the MP3s will reinforce the magic of Social Anxiety Fix and put you in a position to make and keep friends in your life. You wouldn't mind living in a world where friends couldn't wait to see you and your presence was enough for the party, would you? Now is the time for you to make a decision about the rest of your life. Now is the time for you to take these coaching lessons and learn how to fix your social anxiety. Haven't you ever thought about what it would be like to be desired by friends, family, and the opposite sex? Haven't there been times when you wanted to crawl out of the anxiety you live in and become a social hero? Well, now is the time for you to do this. Now is the time to click download and start putting Social Anxiety Fix to work. You can now get moving with your new social anxiety-free life in less time than ever. Your opportunity to be what you want to be is right here waiting for you right now. Now, I'm no stranger to the endless amounts of social anxiety systems being offered on the net. And when I was in your shoes, I remember searching endlessly on Google for the magic bullet that would finally put this problem to rest. It was an incredibly confusing process for me because so many of these social anxiety gurus and coaching programs out there, they just threw a million different ideas at me, and I felt lost in all the information overload. When I finally crunched all the tactics and field tested them, I knew there just had to be a better way. So much of the work I did to resolve my social anxiety was either new age nonsense or not applicable to my specific problem. So years later, I made the decision to give this knowledge back to the world in a way that won't waste anybody's time. See, I'm a real person who used to be pretty tormented by social anxiety. I know exactly what I wish I knew then. When the problem was at its worst, I looked at creating this program as an opportunity to go back in time and tell the old me, the socially anxious me, exactly what I needed to know, giving me the power to participate in life. All I needed back then was exactly what you're about to receive. And instead of spending 11 years like I did, trying to figure out what works and process all these emotions on your own, you get the benefit of my own experience, my own homework in minutes. I wanted to differentiate my program from the others by providing real advice that you can follow from anguishing anxiety to social success and prove the social anxiety kung fu that beats this problem into submission. And by the way, this program isn't new by any means. You're not the first person to test drive Social Anxiety Fix, not by a long shot. Throughout its development, I've been beta testing Social Anxiety Fix with a test group of over 5,000 participants, and the results were astounding, and I continue to receive incredible testimonials from my students as time goes on. So feel free to read through this site for the multitude of success stories. But even if Social Anxiety Fix has worked for more than 5,000 people, what's to say that you wouldn't be that one participant, that one exception that this system didn't work for? Well, even though I know you'll be blown away by the information you're about to receive, I also know what it feels like to take a chance on something. I remember I used to sit on your side of the screen buying programs with no assurance as to whether or not they'd solve my problem 100%. And because I know what it feels like to try something on good faith, I've decided to take 100% of the risk completely off your shoulders and put all that risk on my own. So how have I done that? Well, if you're not happy with the results of Social Anxiety Fix, you can get your money back at any time within 60 days of purchase, no questions asked. Now, I don't want you to keep the program unless you're completely head over heels with it. Yes, you could in theory completely rip me off right now by buying the product, using it to resolve your social anxiety, and then just return it and get your money back. I realize that I've made myself completely vulnerable to your moral conscience, but I know once you see how life-altering the system is, you'll agree that it's worth every penny. So, really, I wanted to make this a no-brainer, a full 60 days to experience what I guarantee could change you in 24 hours for only $27. It's crazy, right? You really have absolutely nothing to lose. And after all that assurance, the question starts to get really simple. With a guarantee of 60 days or your money back, and a promise to change your life in 24 hours, why wouldn't you buy Social Anxiety Fix right now? I mean, isn't your happiness in life worth your time and money? Remember, a lifetime of dealing with social anxiety will only lead you alone and frustrated, wondering what could have been. This is your chance to change your life forever, for good. Click the download button right now to set your social anxiety free for good. Now, I know the last thing you're looking for is more pressure around your social anxiety, but I am obligated to warn you that this offer will not be given at this low price for long. You see, as demand is rising, I've become more dedicated to your hand-holding customer support for Social Anxiety Fix. And because of this, I'll have to raise the cost soon to keep up with overhead. So I'm just telling you this because if you leave this page and come back later, there is the possibility you're going to have to pay 2 or 3 times the price I'm asking right now. I have to be able to make a profit to keep the site running, and at this price, you can see that I'm practically giving away the golden goose. I think about what I would tell myself if I could go back in time and just tell my anxious mind to make this commitment, to make a change. And don't you owe it to yourself to do this? I hope you see what possibly lies ahead of you in your life if you take this opportunity and download Social Anxiety Fix right now. Your special someone, that person that you've waited for your entire life, could just be out there waiting for you. And in some ways, they could be available for the last time tomorrow. And what I mean by that is if you ignore this chance to make this positive change, what's to say you'll do it tomorrow and decide to make a positive change? There's no guarantee. So I want you to decide to make a positive change now. If you download Social Anxiety Fix right now, you can actually make that love happen. Your dream job, that job that gives you the fulfillment and financial security to live comfortably, could be made available to you tomorrow, because you simply don't want to be thinking what if for the rest of your life. Every time a beautiful man or woman walks by, every time you see your dream job listed online, you're going to remember that life could have been different with a few clicks of the mouse. Download Social Anxiety Fix right now, follow the instructions. It's really that simple. You really can change your life with a few clicks right now. Once your purchase is complete, you'll receive access to the most powerful information you've ever received. You'll receive information that's going to change your life in 3 different formats, including powerful videos, a comprehensive ebook, and life-changing MP3s. And don't do what I did. Don't lose 11 years of your life dealing with social anxiety. You can break through right now and become the confident person you always dreamed of with the Social Anxiety Fix system. So click the download button below and get started immediately. I'll see you on the other side.